Hi, Colin Smith from UK.
Hi there, how are you?
You're also known to be, professionally, your title is the listener. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And a little bit around listening today in this world of extra social networks and so many connections and so on. In spite of this, we see that people still feel lonely.
Agreed.
So some of this could be due to lack of listening to each other, to genuinely be present with other people. Huh?
Yeah. My sense is that we're more connected in terms of by technology than we've ever been. But as you rightly say, we're experiencing far more loneliness. My sense is that we're more connected now than we've ever been through social media. But we get a sense that we are that's okay, and it is a proper connection. However, evidence shows that people are actually feeling more lonely than they've ever been. And I use a slide which is the same technology that connects us to those far away is the same technology that stops us connecting to those nearby. And we have situations I see where perhaps the younger generations are avoiding speaking on the phone in favor of texting or messaging. And my belief is that the reason is that they're unsure of how to connect properly because they've lost the art of communication, of which a big part, as you rightly say, is listening. But it enables them to curate the image that they want to portray to the person they're connecting with. Whereas in a situation like this, it's live, it's real. Mm-hmm. You're seeing me, I'm seeing you. You're hearing everything I'm saying. I can't stop it and go, well, can we edit that out? Obviously we can, but you know what I mean? In a proper conversation, you can't edit it out. Uh-huh. So what you deliver is what you deliver. And the way I look at it is that everyone knows how to hear, unless they're, audibly impaired. But most people don't know how to listen. And yet, this idea of listening and hearing is something that we do more than any of the other communication mediums, mm-hmm. such as reading, writing, or speaking. Right. And yet, we're trained in those three, but nobody's ever trained or rarely trained in listening. And I think that I can go a lot further in terms of what I believe issues are, such as a lot of addictions, are driven by not being heard, not feeling valued, mm-hmm. not feeling that my contribution matters, that I matter.
Which happens to be one of the main employee engagement factors. Huh? What makes people feel satisfied with what they do is to feel heard and taken into account. Huh?
Yes, and particularly with the generations that are coming through, they need that you're doing great, you're doing well, and you are appreciated. But also you're part of a bigger picture. So they want to feel as though they belong.
It's nice to hear those words. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And even, we look at the difference between feedback and appreciation. Mm. So feedback is about your performance. So I'm going to tell you things that are good or bad about your performance. Whereas appreciation is about you. So for example, this morning in the supermarket, the cashier noticed that my avocado was overripe. And she said, oh, this avocado is overripe. Let me get you another one. And so I said I appreciate it. So if I appreciate what she's doing, so it's about performance. That's like a bit of feedback. But if I appreciate the fact that she was diligent and noticed that, that's about her.
Okay. So you're making a distinction here to start valuing the person, not just this hardcore fact-based, action-based feedback.
Correct. So the way she connected with me, the way she behaved, who she was being, was what I was connecting with, rather than what she was doing. Mm-hmm. Because you can teach doing. And, how many times do you phone the hotel and they say to you something like, hi, this is Colin from the Holiday Inn, how can I help you? And you know that it's a script. Whereas if you get with the genuine you in person, somebody who's bringing themselves, they're fully present, it feels like you're talking to a person. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah, and I've also, in the past I did coaching, personal coaching, life coaching, and now I do negotiation in training for companies.
Yes.
And also in the context of sales, there's a lot of focus on teaching the professionals to start listening again. And coaching clients, they have amazing experiences, perhaps not so much because the advanced knowledge of the coach, not at all, but in many cases, I would say entirely due to the listening, that the coach is trained to have some kind of skill or genuine interest in the listening.
Yeah.
However, it's even difficult for a trained professional to keep the attuned listening. What's your take on this?
I think you're right. I think it's something that needs to be practiced every day. I think it's a little bit like going to the gym. If you go regularly, then you build the muscles. If you don't go or just go very infrequently, then the muscles atrophy. And it's the same, I believe, with listening. You've got to be intending to listen as much as you can. It's not easy. I don't get it right. There are times when I should be paying attention and I'm multitasking. And I forget people's names within seconds of hearing them. But I do my best to engage with the person, to make it so that that person is the most important person in front of me or in my life at that moment, such that they feel it. You don't need to tell someone that. They feel that from your attention and from your presence. And actually they start to relax and they start to feel that they can open up, they can share more things, they become more creative.
Oh yeah, that's something I've seen too. Just a little bit of listening or being silent when the other one talks makes them want to open up, even though they hardly know you. That's funny. And it's also said to be one of the foundation's pillars to create trust, to inspire trust. No?
Yeah.
How come is that? Any theory around that?
My thoughts are, and I use it in what I call the relationship journey, in that if you start off with meeting someone or connecting and you intend to listen, and also going alongside of this is to have good intention with that person, as in, I'm not trying to win you over. I'm not trying
get you, manipulate you into something.
Exactly. So if I'm just being more as open as I can with you, but giving you my full attention, and as you create a space which enables you to feel that I'm getting what's going on for you. Yeah. So we start to create empathy. And as we create empathy, there comes a point when you might say, that's absolutely right. You've got it. Which means to me that I feel what you're feeling. And it's when you get into that space, that becomes almost like the safe space. But all the time you're in this conversation, the level of trust starts to rise. So it's not a on or off.
No.
The trust starts to develop. And when you create that safe space, then you're in a much stronger position from a negotiation point of view, for example, to influence the behavior. Or in an organization that's going through a major change. You need to have heard the people. You need to have listened to them. They need to feel heard and valued and that they matter before you can start influencing them.
Yeah.
And it's also true in relationships. So you get the situation where the man has been very attentive, for example, in this particular situation. Before he's met her, they meet for dinner, and his intention is to get the girl back to his place. So he does all the nice things, but his intention is wrong from her perspective. And
does she, in this case, maybe she wants to have a nice conversation? Or...
Exactly.
Okay.
So and when he says, so we go back to my place, more likely she's going to say, whoa, hang on a minute. I don't feel safe. I'm not trusting this. Whereas had he properly engaged and it may have been over 2 or 3 dates or conversations or whatever, then the opposite may have happened. She may have invited him. Do you see what I mean? And so what typically happens is, because she says no, that's almost the end of it. He's never heard from, he never speaks to her again.
I hear the same kind of situation happening for salespeople. Also, people feel that salespeople are sometimes too aggressive, like with a very strong agenda. They have to sell something, they need to reach result. No? In negotiation, I often tell, we practice how we can understand the needs of the customer first and only recommend kind of what's suitable. But what's any tips for the salespeople out there that they are meant to be, hardcore and go for the deal?
Yeah. What I would say, some research done by, I think it's the company called Huthwaite, who are a global sales company. They analysed all the successful salespeople, and what they found is that the key ingredient is knowing your products. The second one, which was just below that, and I think it was about 78% versus 82%, was listening. So they see listening higher than passion, than enthusiasm, and all of these things. But, obviously not as high as the product knowledge. Yeah. But I think your point is that if we're human beings and we sense when something doesn't feel right, we can either, if we understand what's happening, we can identify what it is that's making us feel unsafe or uncomfortable. But it's also true that if we don't understand what's going on, we just feel it, and there's this degree of uncertainty. They may not be able to articulate why, but the likelihood is that relationship is going to separate more, or they'll take longer, or they make excuses not to make a decision now. And they may well then just try someone else, because actually I feel there's something not right. Like
unconsciously, it creates a discrepancy.
Correct.
And
you see this all the time. Even if it seems like a good deal, there's something I'm not sure about.
And in negotiation, it's been proven in studies that if the other person feels correctly treated during the negotiation process, they're more likely to end up accepting the agreement. Even though, when they are not happy with the interaction, even if the offer is very attractive, they are still having doubts. So, even in some kind of conflict resolution scenario, even if we really dislike the other person, we have really bad feelings from the past with them, it's even then useful to listen, to kind of break the dynamics of bad communication. To create a new ground and maybe reach an acceptable relationship with that person. Or an amicable divorce.
We're the ones that has to give first of all, and it may be harder in negotiation if there's been some bad experiences before, but it's interesting how people, let's say customer service people, which in some respects is like a negotiation. You've got an unhappy customer and you want them to become a happy customer. If that customer is able to express their concerns or their complaint and they feel as though they've been heard, you can win them round.
Definitely.
You
can relax them for a while and they can happily wait for a solution.
We all want to be heard. Whatever it is, we want to be heard. And if I'm complaining, I had an instance this week where I was taking a shirt back because there was a flaw in it, and whilst I was heard by the original assistant, she didn't have the qualification or the seniority to agree a certain thing. So a colleague arrived, or the manager arrived, and she was much more aggressive, much more doubting that there was a flaw in the shirt in itself. And I'm starting, I think this is about 4 days ago, and you're the 5th person I've told. That's the difference. When I left, I acknowledged the young lady who tried to help, as if to say, you did your best, but, I didn't feel heard or that I mattered by the manager.
Hey,
and it's
one question.
Second
last question. The last question would be for the managers out there. Why they need to listen? What's the benefit? And before that, what's the why are we so sensitive to not feeling listened to? It makes us feel hurt in some way.
My feeling is it's something that we've been conditioned. I suppose there's a number of things. One is that we're conditioned when we're younger. You need to, as a child, you're told to be seen, but not heard. So don't talk. So we're getting used to the fact that we're not feeling heard. And as I said earlier, why I think that there's some connection with addiction. We're trying to fill a hole that actually I believe listening can fill.
Okay.
The second part of it is that I think it's a fundamental human need to feel heard, to feel valued, and to feel that we matter. Mm-hmm. And if we're not getting it, we seek it out. So you get those. Somebody was saying that if you talk to older people who are lonely, they seem to want to talk forever because they don't get a chance to talk. They don't get a chance to be heard. And sometimes even just listening to them is enough. They don't need fixing. They don't need, assuring. They just want to know that what they're saying matters. Mm-mm. And being heard's huge.
Yeah, that's mostly the case, no? The one telling the story of their life, it doesn't need your solutions, doesn't need you to tell them that they're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I found that is if you listen to someone, as they start to relax, they become far more eloquent, far more coherent, far more interesting. The moment you start to stop listening and show signs of not listening, like looking away, looking at your watch, yawning, arms folded, the same person in the middle of their story starts to feel stupid. They stumble over their words. They're not sure what they're saying. Mm-hmm. They're often waiting for you to interrupt, waiting for you to take the conversation somewhere else. Wow. How many people do you know who say, my life story is not very interesting? Because when they've started talking, people have shown no interest. They've not listened. Mm-hmm. Because most people would rather talk about themselves than hear about someone else.
And is that somehow happening also in the business world between managers and employees?
Yeah. Research shows that 7 out of 8 people in the US believe they work for a company that doesn't care for them. The organization Gallup is a global organization that does a lot of research. They estimate that the reason most people leave organizations isn't the organization, isn't the product or service, it's their line manager. Mm-hmm. And most of them feel that they're not heard by their line manager. Mm. Yeah, either doesn't care, doesn't want to know, doesn't seek to understand, isn't kind, those sorts of things. Yeah. But I think most people appreciate that business is a business, but how you treat people is what makes a huge difference. And if you treat them well, they will give far more. They'll give their what they call discretionary effort. So this is their own time. They'll give that to you. And if you do it really well, the individuals in your team will also think for you in their spare time. They'll come to you the next day or the day after and say, I've been thinking about what you said on Friday. I've got a couple of ideas that came up for me. How you respond to that at that moment will be a deciding factor as to whether they do that anymore, and also whether they tell other people. there's no point in giving him ideas because he's already got his mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many managers come into a meeting and say, right, I've got this new idea. Let me tell you all about it. And this is what I think we should do. Rather than, I've come up with an interesting idea. I want to bounce it off you guys. What do you think?
Mm.
And then when he's listened to all of their ideas, to then make a decision as to whether it's something they want to do or not.
Yeah.
So it's a small switch, but it has huge impact.
Mm. And to finish off also, this exact example where you take in and you listen before you start implementing something, it's also included in change management. For
Yes.
a project to be more successful, you need to first involve people to kind of listen to their ideas and suggestions. Then they will be more happy with whatever change. Even though maybe the engineered solution that could have been just launched and pushed through, maybe it's geniusly made by process-wise,
Yes.
but people won't be collaborating happily with it
Yeah,
because they don't feel included.
agreed. So, involving the users from the word go is the make or break of whether the project will be successful.
Mm.
And in fact, Google analysed their successful projects over the last 10 years. And what they found is the number one factor for successful projects was psychological safety. So people on the projects felt comfortable sharing what's going on, their ideas, knowing that they wouldn't be bullied, they wouldn't be hassled, and their ideas would be taken seriously. Whether or not we implement them, it doesn't matter. The fact that they've been heard makes the difference.
Thank you so much, Colin Smith.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and I appreciate the way you've listened to me and asked questions that were aligned with how the flow of the conversations was going.
Yeah, it was really nice, natural conversation, and it's only the second time we talk. So
exactly.
And what are you up to next? Any project you want to share?
I'm actually giving a talk on Saturday to it's called Wellington College, which is one of the top colleges in the country, and it's an interesting one because it's part of their pastoral talks. So it's with the parents and the children, or whoever's there on that particular day.
Yeah.
So I'm orientating my talk specifically for parents and children, but also making the links that listening is important as these children grow up and go out into the world, of how listening is important for them going forward.
Wow.
So I'm excited about that.
Great. So good luck with that talk, and talk to you soon.